all-powerful, starting with the elderly wolf uncle. Chapter 29. He and Max looked around in a panic, and all the gangsters had already collected their guns, and stood in place stunned. Chen Tian used Professor Charles's usual method to build a spiritual cage. However, professors are used for mutant personalities who do not want to hurt, but constantly hurt other people. Chen Tian, on the other hand, directly locked all the thoughts of these gangster scum, causing them to fall into a brief sluggishness. Then, Chen Tian cast his calm gaze towards Josh. What kind of monster are you? What kind of monster the hell? Josh and Max looked at the situation around them, and then noticed that the teenager on the opposite side began to approach again, and retreated in horror. Where is the address of the Kim Junction base? Chen Tian ignored the other party's question and asked in an icy tone. In fact, as an underground emperor, few people know his true identity, let alone his base address. After all, there are too many enemies of Jinhei. Josh and Max hesitated a little when they heard this, their eyes flickering. As if they were thinking about which end would be more miserable if they fell into the hands of the teenager in front of them, and betrayed the gold and were caught. Give you the opportunity not to cherish it, then stop here. Chen Tian was too lazy to do more nonsense with these two, stretched out his hand to point at their eyebrows, and directly used the mind invasion. Forcefully broke into each other's consciousness and retrieved all the memories of the two. Then, after slightly comparing the memories of Josh and Max, Chen Tian finally got Jin and the accurate base address. As for the two who were invaded by the mind, they felt that their brains had been drilled back and forth several times by an electric drill, lying on the ground and looking miserable and painful. Sorry, we were wrong, let us go. Josh and Max had completely broken their guts, and there was only endless fear in Chen Tian's heart, and they whispered a plea for mercy in their mouths. It's a pity that there is only one chance. Next second, when they raised their heads, they saw Chen Tian's palm slowly covering their eyes, and he spoke softly as if to comfort a baby. Mind invasion hurts, right? It's okay, it won't hurt next. Boom, boom. Then two heads burst, Chen Tian crushed the heads of the two, sticky blood splashed everywhere, and two headless corpses fell one after another. Scarlet blood flowed all over the place in an instant, spreading on the old floor of the warehouse. Then Chen Tian had already got the answer, and turned away without stopping. There were still many gang members at the scene who did not kill, but he had more urgent things to do, and he could only count them as getting away with it. Minutes passed. Those gang members who were restricted by Chen Tian's mental cage and fell into sluggishness began to regain control of their bodies. Josh and Max are dead. Got a report to the boss quickly. The partially regained gang members, looking blankly at the miserable dead bodies of Josh and Max, quickly came back to their senses. Immediately called Kim and called. ... Same as this. A high-tech building, inside the office on the top floor. Jingle bells. The phone rings. Jinhee squinted slightly in a white suit, his large and round body leaned back in a chair to rest, and he picked up the phone impatiently when he was disturbed by the ringing. Say. Kim also angrily spat out a word, annoyed at being disturbed. After a few seconds, he hung up, his face even more angry. Fuck, there are still people who dare to mess with me. Kim roared and smashed the desk in front of him with a punch. His body is not pretty, but under the wrapping of his suit, he is full of exaggerated muscles with great strength. So much so that the subordinates outside the door could hear the movement inside. I don't know what made my boss so angry. Not long after Jinhee hung up the phone, he received another message from the guard. Boss, someone has invaded the base building. The guard's voice trembled, with a bit of fear. What? Jinhee looked solemn, and the computer monitor in front of him appeared, and many surveillance pictures of different areas appeared. All corners of the building are included. Jinhee frowned and blinked away from one of them. I saw a yellow-skinned boy actually walking towards it in an upright manner, and the corpses everywhere behind him were like mountains. ... Chapter 37, Surrender or Die. Kim Hee's Nightmare, Hell's Kitchen, in front of the Kim and ABP building. Chen Tian shook off the bloodstains of minced flesh on his hands. Perhaps he had survived in such a world for too long, he had long been numb to the matter of killing. Even if his hands were now stained with sticky blood, he walked expressionlessly to the depths of the building with the bloodstains of corpses. Stop. Before he took 2 steps, another fierce gangster member blocked him with a gun. Buzz. Chen Tian waved his hand casually, and displayed his spiritual ability to instantly control the other party in place. Under the terrified gaze of this gangster member who froze in place, Chen Tian's slender fingers easily rested on his neck. 5 fingers retracted. Crushing the neck of the gang member was as easy as pinching a rotten dead wood, and the cervical spine, trickier. And muscles were all twisted into a ball of paste under the huge force. Boom. The gangster who stood in the way fell, and the body fell apart. It's a pity to be a loyal subordinate. Chen Tian looked at the corpse at his feet and admired Jinhee with some admiration. What a powerful trick it is to make any of his subordinates willing to work for him. Thinking about it, he continued to walk towards the building, slaughtering a few guys who were blocking the way, and easily entered the hall of the Jinhee building. At this time, the hall was empty. Chen Tian looked around calmly, as if he was not in the enemy camp, but as relaxed as going home. Boom. Then, the doors on the 3 sides of the hall slammed closed and locked, and only the door facing Chen Tian was open. Then a neat stream of footsteps came from the open gate, and a group of guards in white uniforms ran out with weapons and lined up on both sides of the doorway. As if welcoming the arrival of some big man. Chen Tian's gaze calmly fell in the center of the gate, and with his 5 senses far beyond ordinary people, he had already sensed that the person he was looking for had arrived. Sure enough, a few seconds later, a tall, mighty figure exuding terrifying oppression walked out of it. Each step landing was extremely heavy. and the tower-like body was slowly shrouded in Chen Tian by the huge shadow cast by the light. The one who came was the underground Emperor Jinhe. He glared at Chen Tian angrily, extremely angry at this uninvited guest who had broken into the base. In this New York City, it belongs to the government by day, and at night it belongs to the gangsters, and belongs to his underground Emperor Jinhe. Chen Tian's move was undoubtedly to put him on the fire and roast him, which Jin could not bear. You are Kim He? Chen Tian looked Jinhe in a suit and leather shoes up and down, and said lightly. Some people say that this big body is round like a ball, the body fat rate is actually only 2%, and the muscle strength of the whole body is close to the peak of human beings. Kim doesn't have any superpowers, but he trains professionally every day against a group of top martial artists from around the world. Each time is 1 against 10, but each training session does not exceed 20 seconds, and the opponent in training is either dead or injured. As a human being, the individual combat power is second only to the American team. Boy, you messed with the wrong person, Jin said angrily. Then he asked, who ordered you to do this? In his memory, he had never had such an enemy as Chen Tian, and the latter's raid on him was most likely instigated. First chapter previous